Chosen one, you didn't find this video by accident. Something unseen aligned behind your screen time, your scrolling thumb, your restless spirit, and pulled you here right now because the collapse that started the day you went quiet is still echoing through the people and systems that tried to hold you. Your soul moved first. Your mind is catching up. That is why this moment feels charged. Today we go straight into the truth behind your withdrawal, the backlash it set off in hidden places, and why silence, your silence, was never passive. It was prophecy in motion. What if I told you that the minute you stopped explaining yourself, their entire control grid flickered? That they were never afraid of your voice. They were afraid of the power that woke up when you stopped giving it to them? This video is titled, Chosen One, Your Withdrawal Triggered a Spiritual Backlash. They lost power the moment you left. Stay with me because we are going to break open what your silence did in the spirit, why they needed you to react, how explanation drains revelation, and how sacred quiet becomes a strike from heaven. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. They called you cold, distant, dramatic. Yet the fruit says otherwise. Things began to shake only after you stepped out. Keep listening, because before this ends you will see why the emptiness you created is holy ground. Chosen one, if this message reached you today, it's because the collapse already began. You didn't walk away, you triggered a divine reversal. This message was set in motion the moment your spirit pulled back. So breathe, settle in, and let what they hid come forward. We are about to trace the shockwave from your silence. The collapse begins at your exit. Last night, you may have dreamed of standing in a doorway that was no longer attached to any house. Nothing around it but open field and moving air. In the dream, you reached back to close a door that wasn't there, and yet you heard the faint snap of cords untying in far rooms you couldn't see. That echo was not random imagination. It was memory surfacing from the spirit side of your life. Many who are marked as chosen move through years of noise, yet carry one repeating image. A hallway, a gate, a hand letting go, and only later learn that image carried data. Tonight, that image meets language. You did not simply leave. You untethered whole patterns that had used you as anchor. If that picture stirs anything in you, stay. What you sensed without proof is about to be confirmed. Maybe parts of your story feel scattered. The way birthday gatherings drained you for days, how group chats waited for you to answer so fights would end, why relatives called you when no one else could calm the tension, why coworkers copied you on threads, just in case, why you walked into a room and felt the mood like weather before anyone spoke. You were told you were too sensitive, too quiet, too intense, too much, not enough. You laughed it off, then went home and sat in a parked car longer than needed because the air inside your chest felt crowded. You apologized for leaving early. You texted back even when tired. You carried the unspoken load because silence seemed harsher than self-betrayal. If you've lived that push-pull, needed yet blamed, central yet unseen, you are not alone. That pattern repeats across families, friend groups, ministries, creative teams, blended homes. It is the mark of someone drafted into spiritual maintenance without consent. Here is the shift. None of that was accidental. Every living system trades energy. Some offer mutual care, others siphon. When a soul born with active discernment shows up, unstable structures instinctively lean on it. They did not always celebrate you. They balanced themselves on you. Scripture hides this in plain sight. Israel stood trapped before the sea while an army closed in. The command was not fight, but stand still and watch. Exodus 14 verse 14. Power moved when the people stopped moving. Ecclesiastes whispers that there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 7. Timing holds architecture. Later, Elijah fled into exhaustion, and God was not in the wind, quake, or fire, but in a thin sound after the noise. 1 Kings 19:1113. Structure changes in the pause. Your life has followed that map. Where others saw you withdraw, heaven marked a load-bearing beam sliding out from under false walls. The collapse that followed was blueprint, not drama. Small signs started to leak through cracks long before you named them. A day when you ignored your phone and 3 people just checked in within minutes as if an alarm tripped. A meeting you skipped, and suddenly the old rivalry in the group resurfaced. Déjà vu at doorways where you once mediated fights. Dreams that repeat the same staircase you never climbed. A weight in your stomach every time certain names lit your screen. Heat at the back of your neck before a family blow-up. God often flags a shift in low light. In a dream, in a vision of the night, he opens the ears. Job 33:1516. Elijah only heard the whisper after storms passed. You often catch truth in the quiet ride home, the shower, the early scroll when the world is half asleep. These are not random flickers. They are meter readings on a grid drawing current from you. When you start listening, the pattern appears. Then comes the quiet confirmation. You finally held back one reply. Nothing heroic, just space. At first you felt guilty. Then you noticed peace settling like dust in a sunbeam. Hours passed. The expected blow never landed. Instead, they began messaging others, retelling the story, trying to pull you back into debate. That scramble exposes dependence. Inside, something steady rose. You remembered the line, "Be still and know that I am God," echoes across the Psalms. But beneath that, warriors learned to wait for signal winds. David moved only after hearing the sound of marching in the treetops. 2 Samuel 5 verse 24. Stillness as strategy, not passivity. Your nervous system caught the rhythm. Each time you guarded your tongue, you preserved your soul, just as wisdom literature teaches. Proverbs 13 verse 3. The confirmation is not thunder. It is relief that holds. As that calm settles, memory returns from deep storage. You begin to see a younger you who sensed rooms before understanding words. You recall sitting under tables at family gatherings because the legs felt safer than the laughter. You remember praying without knowing you were praying, just talking to the air that felt kind. What if that child was already in touch with the field that later kept everyone else steady? In the wilderness, tribes argued over who held divine favor. The staffs were laid down overnight, and only Aaron's rod budded. Numbers 17. Life has been laying down sticks around you for years. Fruit appears where favor rests. Your hidden growth under pressure was not weakness. It was proof of calling. You are not becoming someone new. You are recovering the one who budded in secret. This is where activation begins. Sensitivity is not a flaw. It is instrumentation. You read currents others ignore. When you step back, you collect all those scattered readings and choose where to send life. Start with one practice. Delay response until your body unclenches. Another, walk out of rooms when tone turns mocking and note what shakes after you leave. Track who panics when you pause. That map shows dependence. Jesus warned that letting your yes be yes and your no be no cuts fog. Matthew 5 verse 37. Boundaries are circuits. Each clear line you draw unplugs another hidden wire they ran through your empathy. You do not owe endless explanation. You owe stewardship of what God placed in you. So if this found you now, trust the timing. The long ache you carried, the rooms you steadied, the guilt you felt for leaving. All of it is evidence that you were the invisible brace in places never built to stand. You closed the channel and the lights flickered because they were wired to your spirit, not to source. Comment void if you sensed a vacuum open when you walked away. Tell us where it showed first: work, church, family, friendships, because naming the space helps others see their own pattern. Stay close. Next, we enter why they needed your attention to survive, and what happens in the unseen when spiritual parasites lose their host. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community. A private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Why they needed your attention to survive. Maybe it began as a weight you could not name. The air thickened whenever a certain name flashed on your screen. Your stomach dipped before you even opened the message. Meetings stretched thin whenever you offered truth. You would leave conversations feeling as if cords trailed from your ribs back into rooms you had already exited. A quiet heaviness sat behind normal days. Headaches after helping, buzzing nerves before family calls. The urge to check on people who never once asked how you were. These micro-frictions were early ripples of resistance. Something drawing on you, counting on you, adjusting itself around your attention long before you knew you were carrying light strong enough to power other people's shadows. The discomfort was data. Secrets were already moving toward the surface. There is an exhaustion that does not show on medical tests. You know it. The party you organized left you hollow while others called it the best night ever. You mediated sibling fights, then got labeled dramatic. You answered midnight texts because you cared, then woke to jokes that you are too intense. Rejection wore soft clothes. Eye rolls when you spoke, group chats that went silent until conflict needed fixing. Praise that turned to blame when you set a limit. Shame dripped in slow cycles. Maybe I am too sensitive, maybe I should stop making everything deep, maybe my needs are the problem. Yet some part of you watched from inside, remembering how the room settled when you breathed. If you have ever cried in a parked car after small talk, you have felt the pressure of a field misused. Step back and widen the frame. Resistance gathers where destiny threatens the status quo. Pharaoh increased labor only after Moses spoke freedom aloud. Exodus 5:19. Saul's suspicion ignited when songs named David's victories. 1 Samuel 18:89. Praise exposed future shift. Babylon tried to rename, refeed, and relanguage Daniel and his friends to dilute what they carried. Daniel 1:37. These are not quaint stories. They are blueprints. Systems that feed on borrowed power move fast to brand, drain, distract, or domesticate anyone whose presence destabilizes control. In your life, the pushback around your boundaries, gifts, art, leadership, empathy, picked the lane with strategy, not mood. They reacted to potential they sensed before you owned it. Wilderness is often the holding pattern God uses when culture tries to claim what heaven already sealed. Israel's path proved that again and again. Now turn a lamp back over your timeline. Notice the clusters. Every time you chose rest, someone launched a crisis that demanded your reply. Every season you neared breakthrough, unexpected bills, tech failures, or relationship explosions yanked focus sideways. Jobs dangled promotion yet loaded you with uncredited mentoring because you're so good with people. Friend groups triangulated you into arguments to keep the peace you provided. Faith spaces slipped you quiet tasks that carried the whole event while platform roles went elsewhere. Individually, these moments looked random. Together they sketched circuitry, lines of pull wired straight into your attention. Switching on this light is unsettling, but clarity beats slow leak. When you map them, you see the same drain points repeating like faulty breakers that trip only when load rises. Seeing the pattern frees you to rewire. Open the spiritual layer and language sharpens. Energy has appetite. Light attracts use. Daniel fasted and prayed, yet the answer he waited for was delayed by a territorial principality until angelic help broke through. Daniel 10:13. Paul and Silas freed a trafficked girl from a spirit that made money for handlers. Backlash was instant prison because prophet streams went dark. Acts 16:1624. Elisha's servant panicked at armies until eyes opened to see chariots of fire already encircling them. 2 Kings 6:1517. Unseen fields decide visible odds. You have felt versions of this. Walking into a space and meeting air so thick you yawn. Technology freezing only when you speak truth. Opportunities closing after you decline unhealthy terms. Silent watchers who monitor your posts but never support. These are not proofs to fear. They are tells that your presence disrupts hidden economies. How did you adapt under that pressure? Many learn to overfunction. Answer fast, fix feelings, smooth tone, minimize insight so no one feels exposed. Others shrank, sitting in meetings but not speaking, ghosting then returning, wearing humor like armor. Some fused with the role they were handed and forgot they had choice. People-pleasing became a life raft. Self-erasure, a tax paid to stay included. Peter denied knowing Jesus when fear swelled in the courtyard firelight. Luke 22:5462. Even those marked by revelation can wobble under scrutiny. If you have ever typed long explanations then deleted them because truth felt unsafe, you know the strain. None of these responses disqualify you. They show how valuable your signal has always been. Survival codes kept you alive. Discernment will now rewrite them into strength. Reclamation starts the moment you realize attention is currency and you own the mint. Control feeds on contact, not on truth. Stop paying and their market collapses. Begin with clean speech. Let your yes stay yes and your no stay no, as Jesus framed boundary clarity. Matthew 5 verse 37. Guarding your mouth guards your life. Proverbs 13 verse 3. Less reaction means less leakage. Step back and watch how the field shifts. The prophet Zechariah saw God as a wall of fire around those he protects. Zechariah 2 verse 5. And fire does not debate, it defines perimeter. Jesus often left crowds to pray in solitary places. Mark 1 verse 35. Withdrawal reset alignment before the next wave. Each pause you claim is a firewall loading. Each unanswered bait message is resource returned to mission. Feel the difference. Your nervous system unclenches. Creativity rises. Clarity sharpens. Resistance proves the line mattered. Here is the reveal behind the noise. They never ran on their own power. They ran on your focus. Every defense, rumor chase, late-night reply, and forced peace treaty sent voltage across wires you did not know were plugged into you. When you chose silence, the valve closed and their lights flickered. The sudden burst of longer texts, stirred gossip, shifting narratives, or smear loops was not strength. It was the rattle of a system starving. You were opposed because you are powerful, and pressure only amplified what heaven already signed. Comments starve if you have watched control fade the moment you stopped feeding it, and add a line about what changed. Did the gossip dry up? Did they seek a new target? Did peace return to your body? Your testimony breaks isolation for someone else. Hold that thought. Next, we move into the shift from reaction to revelation, where your silence begins speaking louder than any defense you could post. And to every soul who's supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters, your belief matters, and your light is felt here. The shift from explanation to revelation. One morning you wake and a memory you never understood slides into place like a hidden puzzle edge. That night years ago when you stopped mid-text because something in you whispered wait. The way you kept seeing the same number the week you almost signed a deal that later proved corrupt. The strange calm that fell over you the moment you chose not to defend yourself in that argument. Pieces that once felt random now lean toward each other. The blur starts to clear. You realize you were never only reacting, you were being guided. A thin light runs through old scenes and shows a line of care you did not see while living them. Confusion begins to organize into pattern, and pattern smells like purpose. As this line sharpens, you start catching messages hidden in plain day. Certain numbers cluster on clocks, receipts, flight gates. A lyric repeats in different places, carrying the same phrase you prayed in secret. Street names echo verses you read that morning. Dreams arrive like folded notes. You wake with shapes or colors that later match real choices. It is as if your life has been written in layered ink, and now the backlight is on. Ancient stories speak of sealed scrolls opened at the set time, Daniel 12 verse 4. Of writing on walls that cut through denial, Daniel 5:512. Of a voice that says write what you see, Revelation 1 verse 11. You are reading the code beneath the surface now. Reality has always talked. Awakening teaches you the alphabet. Inside, signals grow louder. Your gut tightens sooner when something is off. Your shoulders drop the instant a space is safe. You feel sudden surges of heat when boundary lines are crossed. And instead of explaining why you feel that way, you trust it. Prayer becomes less words, more listening. Quiet stretches feel full. The peace that signals yes in your body begins to rule like a referee. Colossians 3 verse 15. You hear your name differently when it is used to control versus honor. Samuel needed Eli to say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant hears." 1 Samuel 3 verse 9. Once named, the boy could finally distinguish voice from noise. You are learning that same inner ear. What once leaked out in long explanations now condenses into a single knowing. This is for me, that is not. As within shifts without response. People who relied on your endless replies either adjust or drift. New contacts show up who meet you at depth without draining you. Projects stall right when your energy sours toward them. Then later you learn that delay saved you. Other doors swing open only after you rested. Paul was blocked from entering certain regions until the right vision redirected him to Macedonia. Acts 16:610. Closed and open were both guidance. You begin to see cancellations, invitations, sudden relocations, and unexpected alignments not as chaos but as a moving map. The more you honor inner revelation, the clearer the outer architecture becomes. Even resistance now reads like signage. If pushback spikes every time you step toward a certain calling, that path likely carries weight. Long before this clarity you carried fragments, recurring childhood dreams, an image of a light underwater, a sound you heard when alone in fields, a pull toward ancient words you could not pronounce. Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart before their meaning unfolded. Luke 2:19. Jeremiah was told he was known and set apart before birth. Jeremiah 1:5. Some callings predate memory. Revelation describes a white stone with a name only the receiver knows. Revelation 2:17. Identity often hides until time. As awakening rises, those stored fragments start to glow. What you felt as odd nostalgia was actually forward memory, spirit remembering future assignment. When symbols return now, you are ready to read them. With memory rethreading, destiny stops looking like a distant maybe and starts feeling like a map you once studied and are now retracing. You are not inventing a path, you are reclaiming one. Habakkuk stood on his watch to see what God would say, then wrote the vision so runners could carry it. Habakkuk 2:1-2. Isaiah declared that the word sent out would not return empty but would accomplish its purpose. Isaiah 55:11. Prophecy is not guesswork. It is alignment catching up with what was spoken. So you stop begging some rooms to believe you. You stop shrinking your dream to fit their comfort. Permission has already been issued in a higher court. Your job is to walk it. From this stance, reclamation turns fierce but clean. The energy you once spent explaining flows back as fuel. You speak less and mean more. You respond to bait with silence, to projection with clarity, to gaslight with absence. Like Jesus withdrawing to pray before choosing the 12, Luke 6:1-13. You make decisions from revelation, not pressure. Like Paul shaking the dust from his feet when a town rejected the message, Acts 13:51. You stop proving worth to closed hearts. Fire forms a ring, Zechariah saw it, Zechariah 2:5, and you stand within it. What was always yours returns. Time, voice, rest, dream, creative spark. Resistance now reads as weather, not verdict. Revelation is invitation, never finish line. The truth that rose inside you waited until you could carry it without selling it for approval. You were never meant to bleed out in explain mode. You were meant to live in reveal mode. Comment reveal if you've had a dream, memory, challenge, or inner knowing snap into focus and change how you move. Share it, your code might unlock someone else's. Hold that awareness, because what comes next is how to guard this new clarity. We are about to walk into the realm where your silence stops being only shield and becomes strategic strike. The moment heaven times your pause like a drawn bow. Stay with me, the weapon phase is next. Divine silence as sacred weapon. There comes a morning when the choice no longer hides in theory. You stand in that inner doorway you have circled for months and the question lands clear. Will I keep feeding rooms that drain me? Or will I hold my sound until spirit says release? This is the line between wandering and assignment. Passivity lived on explaining, apologizing, oversharing. Purpose stands on timing. Picture Israel in silence circling Jericho day after day. Decision walked in circles before breakthrough roared. You are at that same rotation. The wall is not brick. It is expectation. The trumpet is not brass. It is your voice. Will you spend it on those who twist it, or will you bank it for the appointed turn? Choose. Heaven waits on chosen timing more than raw volume. Look at what you have poured out. Long nights answering crises you did not start, ideas given away while others took the credit, peacekeeping that cost you sleep, prayer poured over people who mocked the very faith that covered them. None of it wasted. All of it trained your field. You learned how energy flows, where lies hook, how tone shifts when truth lands. Now call it back. Say it out loud if you must. I call back my hours. I call back my name. I call back the fragments of focus I left in chats, meetings, family dramas, text threads that spun. Not to hoard, but to steward. David returned to Ziklag and found everything taken. He sought God, pursued, and recovered all. 1 Samuel 30 verses 8 and 18. This is that pursuit in the spirit. You are reclaiming throne space inside your own life. Authority returns when attention gathers. Let us name what you actually carry because they mislabeled it so you would never use it. Your sensitivity is a sensor array. Your quiet pattern memory is a code vault. Your gut pull at the edge of bad deals is a key. Your urge to withdraw before storms is early warning radar. Your dreams are encrypted scrolls. Some you open now, some you hold sealed until release. Fire lives under your ribs. Zechariah saw God ring his people as a wall of fire. Zechariah 2 verse 5. Armor fits where you once felt thin skin. Every wound taught where plates lock. They called you fragile so you would never test your forge. They called you extra so you would mute detail. They laughed at your deep takes because depth exposes shallow dams. See it, claim it. Tools ignored turn to rust. Tools named turn battles. Do not wait for a finished map. The path is already under you and lights by obedience. Israel followed cloud by day, fire by night. Direction came stepwise. Exodus 13 verse 21. Gideon moved at night with jars and torches hidden until signal. Judges 7:1620. Strategy unfolded mid-act. You will get the next marker when you honor the current one. That may mean 30 days of guarded speech, a fast from reactive posting, a boundary set with a relative, or carving dawn for prayer before screens. Each act lays track. Watch how resources reroute when you refuse to leak. Notice who drifts, who draws near, what opens. Like a camera on long exposure, the trail brightens behind you as you walk. Mission is not found in a scroll drop from the sky. It grows visible in movement. Zoom out and see the others lighting up across distance. You are not the only one going quiet on purpose. Souls in different cities feel the same pull to hold sound, to withdraw, to reset. Elijah thought he stood alone until God named thousands who had not bowed. 1 Kings 19 verse 18. Esther fasted in hidden rooms while networks formed in the palace. Esther 4:1416. Clusters rise before culture notices. Your silence trains the field for alliance. Spaces where truth does not need constant defense, where timing is honored, where prophecy is weighed, not mocked. Quit dimming to stay in circles that feed on noise. Those structures are dissolving. Stand at full wattage and you will find the ones tuned to the same current. Command of energy now becomes sacred practice, not ego, stewardship. When the Assyrian envoy hurled threats at Jerusalem, Hezekiah's leaders answered not a word. The king carried the letter into the temple and laid it before God. Isaiah 36 verse 21. 37:14. That was energetic command. Refuse reactive debate. Place pressure in divine court. You do the same when you screenshot hostility and pray instead of clap back. When you pause a project until peace returns. When you mark a conversation, no response, and hand it to God. Ceremony helps. Some write names on paper and burn them. Some stand barefoot on ground and speak release. Some sit in stillness until heart rate slows, then decide. Build your right. Align body, mind, spirit. Silence held with intent becomes covenant space where heaven can move unblocked. So we end this turn with an opening. Silence is not the finish. It is the loaded chamber before release. If this word lands in you, comment weapon if you are ready to time your pauses and speak only when spirit says fire. Your path proved it. The day you went quiet, hidden chains began to crack. Silence revealed control, starved manipulation, birthed revelation, and armed you with a weapon heaven trusts. Do not hand that ground back. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Like this video, and comment I am chosen to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. For full prophetic revelations daily, join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Thank you to all supporting members. Your faith makes these messages possible. Stay ready, stay steady, stay chosen.